better be informed. Yes, sir. The American agent has infiltrated the X-Lab facility.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Funker 530 Combat Footage Review. My name is Ronnie. It's good to see you. I've been away for a little while. There were a couple things that happened, but, I mean, at this point, it's kind of just water under the bridge, and I'm not going to give you any excuses. So please do me a favor, if you don't mind, tap on the like button, drop a comment in the chat to let me know where you guys are chiming in from. We're going to get started right out of the gate here, and I probably have a pretty long show for you. I do need a caveat before we get started. One, I can hear something weird going on with my mic, so I'll have to continue troubleshooting that. But two, I'm on a tornado watch right now, so who knows if the stream even actually just stays live. It just, if I had to be frank. But we're gonna give it a go. Everything's all set back up after all of the water damage and the trip out to Wyoming. I'm happy to talk about that stuff more over on the other stream probably, but we're going to get started with some footage that I thought was interesting to see out of Gaza. Let's head to the footage, starting real quick here. This is an aid station. Specifically, an aid station run by a U.S. and Israel-backed organization called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. It started operation on something like the 26th, if I'm not mistaken. This is just a couple days ago. Oh, what is that, 4 days ago at this point? Now, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was run by a former Marine up to the 25th. Was his name Jake Woods? On the 25th, Mr. Woods decided that he was going to resign from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And I have a quote from him, and I thought that was super interesting. Some of you guys might be tracking this at a layer a little bit lower than I am, but I thought this was interesting. Let me read this quote. The reason the executive director, Jake Woods, resigned on the 25th, just a day prior to this happening, or 2 days, a day or two, he said that it was impossible to meet the foundation's objectives while, quote, strictly adhering to the humanitarian principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, independence, which I will not abandon. Again, really just 24 to 48 hours after the executive director resigning, this aid station was overrun. I've got more footage for you guys to look at and a couple more notes on this one. Here comes another piece, giving you a little bit closer look of what was happening on the ground there.
ايش هذا المرتبه؟ صلصه صور هذه مين اللي استلمها؟ والله زي ما قلت لك تحطوه
Look at these fences. You see these fences? So there were essentially rows of fences, one pathway for entrance, one pathway for exit. I'm going to show you guys a video of what this looked like from the top down here in a moment. Now, there's a U.S.-based security contract team that's on the ground out here, and according to the information I was able to find, total personnel assigned to this mission for that US-based contractor team is somewhere around 300. Now, those guys, I don't know if all 300 are assigned to, you know, the protection mission itself. Then you would have, like, I don't know, maybe a portion of them assigned to some form of administrative function. I don't know. But all I could find relative to how much security this place had was there are 300 associated with this specific mission assigned to that or employed by that U.S. Private military contractor. Now, there was a report that was floating around about this video specifically saying that the IDF fired into the crowd. The IDF responded to that. Essentially, my understanding is the IDF showed up to help them regain control of this facility. The IDF responded to that by saying, we didn't fire into the crowd. We fired warning shots, presumably in the air in some way. And as I understand it, only a couple hours later, they were able to regain control of this aid facility. Again, this is only a couple, a day, maybe a couple hours, very short time period from this opening. I got one more video just to give you a better understanding of what the laydown of this looks like from a top-down perspective. Coming up for you now. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Killstreak. Killstreak does our intro music for this dope shirt. It's a one of a kind, just saying. Here's what what one of these aid stations looks like. So note, like I mentioned, there are those lanes here on the right. This would be entry to the aid facility, and this here is exit. What was a bit unclear to me is whether or not the video that we're looking at here is the exact same one that was overrun, or whether or not they had, essentially the same templatized model for each of these aid facilities. Again, the thing that I kind of want to focus on here and that I thought was very, very interesting is that executive director resigning. So if you don't know Jake Woods, he's the guy that runs like Team Rubicon. Now they go all over the world for disaster relief support. And if we're not going to sit here and kind of extrapolate a bunch of things from just one video, but if you go back and you take a look at what he said when he talked about the neutrality of an aid foundation and how necessary it is, I find those words to be interesting. Now let's move on though. We're going to go to some demolition from the IDF in Gaza. Oh, by the way, that all took place here. It has since obviously changed a little bit, but let's show you where exactly that is. So north by northwest of Rafah. There. But our next video is going to take us here, where we're going to see the Israeli demolition of Hamas infrastructure. That video is coming up for you guys now. Something I'd like you to note here, though. Note specifically the lines. You'll know what I mean here in just a second. Now, at first, and I've seen this reported a couple times, those lines. At first, I saw it reported that these are those det cord in some way. I would argue not. I don't know, though. I would argue not based on these bends. These are tunnels, in my opinion. Noting that either det cord or tunnels, both of which are going to show up like this if they are, a heat signature. Either of those things is going to interconnect with each of these little buildings and compounds, right? So if you had laced all of these buildings with explosives, you would be theoretically daisy chaining all of those things together. In the same vein, as tunnels, those would theoretically be connecting each one of those buildings. For me, these bends that we see here lead me to believe that these are certainly tunnels. You're typically not going to 90 and then do another 90 with your deck cord. All right. I have another one here. And according to the IDF, this is very specifically tunnels. Or a tunnel, I should say. Check out that thing. Demo, thank you for the 21 months as a member. Mosen, thank you for the 38 months as a member, dude. Appreciate that, buddy. And FK, thank you for 35 months. I have more strikes coming up for you here. These are from the Givati Brigade. Discretion advised for this next video. These are reported to be strikes on Hamas, and they take place here in northeastern Gaza, I should say. Here come those strikes. Pause. Stop playing. Here. All right. We're going to move to some footage. I'm going to have two videos tonight from Al-Quds. I have two videos tonight from Al-Quds for us to review. The first one's coming up here, and this is going to be Al-Quds emplacing IEDs. And then the tail end of this presumably shows them hitting, an IDF convoy of some kind, but the video takes place here. And again, it shows the emplacement of IEDs from Al-Quds, which is the militant arm of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the PIJ. Here we go. I don't know what that says. So this is why I was a bit uncertain and said presumably it shows them striking an IDF convoy or patrol of some kind, as we're, I don't know, a kilometer away from it at this point with blurry stuff. I mean, blurring this skyline doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're just going to unblur it for that one, for the explosion there. Because based on, so, this is stupid. Based on where the explosion happened, which the SIG Act is going to be known by the IDF, all they have to do is basically stand there, review this footage, turn the direction that it came from, and then just go that way. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, let's bring it up. We have an IDF airstrike on, all I wrote was a building for this one. I think this was from on the ground though, and this video takes place here. A little bit more towards Jabalia, Gaza City Center-ish. Let's take a look at that video. If I recall, this one is filmed again from a ground level perspective. Yep, sure is. I did my job. Here you are. Man, that was... I wonder if we can catch the munition. There it is right there. Punched through a couple floors. The delay set there. Probably detonated around about here or so. Took this whole side of the building down. All right. I actually want to cover this one next. Discretion very heavily advised for this. This is going to be more from Al-Quds. I don't know where this takes place. But what we're going to see here is, according to the report that I was able to find for it, Al-Qassam Brigade, so now we're talking about Hamas and their military wing, targeting what are reported to be undercover Israeli operatives with explosives, an emplaced IED, if I'm not mistaken. Again, discretion advised on this one. Here you are. All right, bringing it back up in just a second. Just messing with one of my settings over here. Come on, baby. There we go. There we are. So that's what I had for you guys out of Israel. I did have one more video. It's more of a technology video. We'll take a look at it. The lasers are real. It is what it is. Here they are. They were used in Lebanon, actually, to target drones. These are Israel's lasers that they call the Iron Beam. Check it out. Designed by Raphael. Again, and reportedly during the Lebanon operation last year, these were used operationally. I think what we're seeing here is training footage. All right. There is one more video in there. If you guys check on Twitter where I publish the entire video list, you can go and see all the video, all the footage that we're going to be covering tonight. Let's move to our Around the World segment before we get into the Ukraine footage that I have. We're going to be talking about JNIM in Mali. We're headed here. Zoom. This is a Malian army base that gets overrun, and reportedly, according to the information I was able to find, 20 soldiers were killed, 21 vehicles were burned, and 6 soldiers were captured by JNIM. Here is that footage, or at least the footage that I have of this operation. I've got a little bit of aftermath footage here for you as well. So this is presumably during or shortly following it. This is a little bit more footage to during the daytime, so you can see some of those vehicles that were burned and what a little bit more of the scenery looks like there. And if you don't know who JNIM is, I had to write this down, so please forgive me. Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin. JNIM, this group for the support of Islam and Muslims, Salafi jihadist dudes, primarily Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Senegal, really all over the place. Heavy affiliation with Al-Qaeda. More establishment of the Islamic State via Sharia law type folks. Yeah. Let's check out Mexico. Got a couple of interesting ones here from Mexico. We're still in our Around the World segment. We're going to go here. Where I have footage of a Mexican, well, at least footage that gives us audio of a Mexican army operation to capture or kill a high-value target. I think this guy was a Chapitos. Yeah. Paris. P-E-R-R-I-S. I think I'm supposed to roll that R or something. Heavy gun. It sounds like a deuce, to be honest with you, and it wouldn't be surprising if it's the Mexican army. M2, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's, the fire rate sounds right, and it looks like you can almost see its truck mounted there. See that? You see this truck right here? That looks like a technical to me. Cord? No. It'd be a Madus. If it's something. Oh, did you see that? Something just did something right here. Yeah. All right. Oh, and they did kill Paris. Whatever. We're going to go to one more in the same general area, actually. Why did I? Hold on. There we go. I had to get us back to the map. Just, we're on the western coast of Mexico right now, near Culiacan, Sinaloa. We are going to stay around here, though. And we're going to right here. We're going to see a damn gunfight at a jail. Like inside the jail. Between two cartels, between Chapitos and what is it, Mayitos? Mayitos. Anyway, it's pretty crazy that there's a gunfight at this prison, and how that's possible. Something I mentioned not too long ago, when people were talking about how we're going to take the military down there and work with the government, and you know, the U.S. military, and we're going to clean them out. Well, the problem with that is at both the local and federal level, the intersection and intertwinement, is that even a word, of the cartels with the government. How else would they have gotten guns inside of the jail, the prison? Anyway, I haven't even shown you the video yet. Let's watch that. It's pretty crazy. It's not like a couple shots. It is a gunfight. It is a Willem Dafoe gunfight going on in there. It's inside a jail. All right, let's bring it up. Oh, there's one more video. Let's take a look at what this one's got for us. Nothing. Okay, perfect. Where are we headed now? We're gonna head to Puerto Rico. We're actually gonna see some coastie action here. So the Coasties got a call from a family. I absolutely love the Coast Guard, and if I could do it all again, I would probably pick the Coast Guard. Let me log into the website. That way, I get the no ad experience here. I would absolutely do the Coast Guard if I could do it all again. Anyway, here's the Coasties doing what Coasties do, saving people. We'll talk about it. Come on, play. What are you doing? Basically, Coast Guard got a call that this family on their 26-foot boat had lost all propulsion out near Gilligan's Island. There's the boat. Just wanted to make sure these dudes got some credit for saving this family. I think it's also pertinent to note that unless you have some water and some supplies on that boat, if you're out, I don't know, 15, 20 miles from shore, cruising, you know, a couple beers deep, and you lose power, and you don't have a way to communicate, just saying, something to think about. All right, let's bring it back up. Nice job, dudes. And where are we headed now? We're moving into our Ukraine segment. I'm going to pause here for just a moment and say thank you very much to Demo for gifting 5 members. Welcome, Sentient Connie, Random Madness, Irish Cowboy GPT. Welcome, guys. And LZ. Can't forget LZ. Mr. Naughty, thank you for the $10. Appreciate you, man. Ronnie, we missed you, bro. Dude, I miss being here, man. Like, seriously. It's been a little rough trying to get this studio back in order, but I'm happy to be back. The Funker 530 app is awesome, by the way. Nothing's perfect. Always improving it. Thank you very much for that comment, though. We appreciate you. Taylor, thank you very much for the 270. Scotland here. Thank God you're back, Ronnie. Well, it's, again, good to be back. I'm going to take us into our Ukraine segment for the night, and we have quite a long one, in fact. Our general section is actually going to be the longest. We do have some geolocatable footage here This is geolocatable. I got to copy it from another thing, but we're going to watch the video first, and then I'll show you exactly where this takes place, but it's near Moscow. This is, you know, effectively a cruise missile plant that was hit by a Ukrainian fixed-wing drone near Moscow. Note the small arms fire. Trying to shoot that thing out of the sky. It is not small. Poor puppy dog. That puppy dog doesn't even know what's going on. If I did my job right, this should be the location of that once I can highlight. Why isn't that highlighting? There we go. This should be the location of that. Very far. There. Again, near Moscow. I guess that's not really Moscow, but it's north of Moscow. I mean, everything's relative. What is that? From city center, I guess. Pretty far. It's 100 kilometers. It's still close enough. All right. Might as well call it Moscow. A very massive, on the 25th, a very massive, speaking of the capitals, series of strikes in Kyiv took place. This is just one of those. Now, there were a multitude of drone strikes, of cruise missile strikes, on the same night. Chernihiv, I think we have footage of that that's coming up later, was hit by an Iskander. This guy is really lucky. Let's just put it that way. This took place in Kyiv, and I'm pretty sure I actually have this same strike from another angle. I can't be 100% on that in the next video. All right, let's bring it up. This next one takes place here. Give me a second to pull the map back up. Oh, and we need to move over to UA control map here in a moment. Takes place here. There is an underground kind of complex around it. And this is your strike. We'll move to the next map as soon as we get to some of the next bit of footage here. It might not be the same location. You guys let me know. It's just, maybe it's the audio, which is going to be the same for each of these Shahed drones as it comes in, screaming in like that. It just, the tunnel, and here you are. Yeah, I'm going to pass on that, dog. All right, let's move to our next bit of footage. And speaking of Chernihiv, this footage, just like with the last one, there's a bit of a caveat. I had to do a little bit of correlation with this one. The actual strike itself wasn't, I couldn't find a geolocation for the actual strike. I could, however, from approximately the same time frame, find a geolocation of aftermath footage, and there wasn't a whole lot there. It was just folks walking around conducting interviews, and I don't speak Ukrainian, so I wouldn't have been able to provide any context to it. So the location that I'm going to give you for this is at a bare minimum Chernihiv, to give you an understanding where that is, but I'm hoping I actually have the location of the strike with this, just to be clear. Let me show you where this is on the map. Matter of fact, let's pull up UA control map. That way we have some semblance of a forward line to look at here. So your red dot there, if you guys recall UA control map. Chernihiv. All right, here is the footage. This is an Iskander M falling out of the sky. Matter of fact, I think I answered my own question. It doesn't look like there's a building of that size here. So at a bare minimum, I can tell you that this is Chernihiv. What I can't tell you is what exactly that landed on. All right, let's bring it up. Now we're going to head to Kharkiv, where I have some ungeolocatable footage of the International Legion, and underscoring the word international on this. It's about a 5-minute video, so we're going to sit through it. Because what you're going to hear is you're going to hear a multitude of languages. You're going to hear English, French, I don't know, could be Canadian English, could be American English. I don't know. But what I thought was interesting is you're going to see and hear a lot of coordination from infantry to artillery. This is kind of one of those pieces of footage that I absolutely love to share insight on, or at least share with you. That way you can derive from it what you'd like. Here you are.
Warren, can you copy that? They are employing smoke as we speak. I need 777s between 2 or 3. Copy. Right place, yes. Vanguard wall teams in contact. Fast, safe distance to allow 777s or un groupe plus. Les gars, retraite. Retraite. Ils vont utiliser le triple shot. Yeah, the smoke is a good spot. Then you have another target for. The big belly. Ouais, dans le trou. Standby, real standby. Around 18 minutes. Okay. Là, faut contourner. Ouais, viens par la gauche. Ok, il est mort. Il est mort. Là, il y a un 200 là. Là, il y a un 200. Ouais. C'est sûr? Oui, là. J'appuie. Sauvegarde. Hein? Attends, mais l'autre trou, l'autre trou. Doucement. Ok. Attends, là, il y a... Сдавайся, пиздец! Ah, le pote, il est mort, là, non? Il est là! Ah, mort, là, c'est là, là. Où là? Ouais. Ouais, je prends la gauche, moi je prends la gauche, là. Non, c'est là. Bon travail. Attends, petit tapis, il va rester bloqué au fond. Nettoyez d'abord la gauche. Si les Russes sont barrés, ils se lancent là-dedans. Je mets en hauteur. Il y en a deux qui sont à l'intérieur et deux qui sont à l'extérieur en hauteur.
All right, coming to an end here. Again, I thought this one was interesting because we can see infantry communicating. Am I muted? Oh my goodness, I'm always worried that I'm muted now. You can see infantry communicating back about withdrawing a bit. So the 777s, if you're not familiar with the 777, it's a towed 155 millimeter artillery piece that was provided by the United States. You can see them calling for a little bit of withdrawal so that the 777s can hit the area. I didn't see anything that looked like 777 fire or artillery impacts of any kind. If you guys did, let me know. I only reviewed this one once, but let's move on to our next bit of footage. We're moving into Vovchansk, where we have a Russian assault on what used to be a high-rise building, what is now not. This is going to take place here. So we'll get a quick view of a little bit higher res view of that. Let's jump over to UA control map and use that as well. Actually, UA control map does just fine for us. So you can see this right on the established forward line of troops. Just coming out so you can see where we're at in Ukraine. And here comes the footage for you. Now, I think this is a team of 3, if it's the footage that I recall. Kind of move on this former, again, high rise. Ultimately, they have to kind of withdraw. There's a barricaded shooter situation there. Exchange of gunfire and grenades. Probably going to keep the sound off on this one. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I probably should have muted the sound on the last one, but you know, it is what it is. Just kind of dumping a magazine through the window there. That hurt. Something bit me. So these guys make it back to their... This guy's wounded here, certainly. They make it back to kind of their location, and I think this is trying to tell us that a drone drop munition was used against them once they made it back to their hideout in the bricks. How do you survive that? Dude, we've seen footage of hand grenades landing in people's laps, and they just kind of survive. We've had guests on our show that had a hand grenade land next to them by a foot. They got pretty borked by it, but they survived. Hand grenades don't necessarily do what people think they do. You know, it's not going to throw you across the room. It is going to pepper you with a lot of frag, primary and secondary frag. But there's that video that it's gonna essentially be an iconic video at this point that'll be used for training forever, of the IDF engineer that was clearing a room, and there's two guys in there. He kills the first guy. The second guy pops a grenade and tosses it out at him. Grenade lands in front of the dude's feet. He looks down at it. It blows up. He falls. He gets back up and kills the last guy. Crazy video. Let's move to our next one. Discretion advised for this. We're going to have a similar situation where we have what I would describe as a barricaded shooter, or a barricaded team in some way. There's going to be a Russian coming up here along this wall. He's going to do his best to place an anti-tank mine. We've seen bits and pieces of footage of this in the past where both Ukrainians and Russians are taking anti-tank mines and almost using them as unscheduled building disassembly devices, where they'll huck it in there and it just tears apart the foundations of the buildings and it drops the buildings. Well, he's going to attempt to do that, but he's going to start taking small arms fire from his right, and that small arms fire is going to be effective. Here is that footage for you. Sometime today. No, we're not playing that. Satchel charges, yeah, in the most in the historical term for it, yeah, but in this context, they're using a lot of, you know, the T-62, the anti-tank mines for it. So he's got his gear there. That one actually might be a satchel. I don't know what that was. Oh, it's inside of there. He's going to pull it out of there. That's right. That's the equivalent today. Well, this is today. But yes, absolutely. Bag charge is satchel charge. And there's that fire that came from the right. You could see it. You could see the impacts hitting the wall all around him as he kind of tucks in to presumably prep that charge, that mine. Don't feed the troll. I don't think he's trolling. Just having a conversation. I mean, this is a community show. This isn't Ronnie gets up here and runs his stupid mouth for an hour and a half. Yeah, you see those impacts there. He does get hit. Now, if I'm not mistaken, whatever he was prepping does detonate. So I think he does get that fuse lit. Again, discretion advised. And I'm pretty sure it goes off here in a moment. Yeah, there it went. Yeah. All right. We are going to go to a Ukrainian assault. So we watched a couple of Russian assaults here. A Ukrainian assault on Russian positions in Luhansk. This is from the 30th Mechanized Brigade, and it's supposedly dated around 23 May. So it's some relatively recent footage. Again, I'm going to have to keep the sound off for this one because they have music overlaid with the combat footage sounds, which is unfortunate. You know, we're sitting here thousands of miles away and have the ability of hindsight to complain that way. So they're welcome to put up whatever the hell they want on it. If any of you guys are listening right now, give it to us raw. Here is the footage. It's unfortunate. I'd love to have the combat audio for this. Are you guys talking shit to each other on the internet? Shut up. Let's move to Donetsk and Kupiansk. We have the Russian Volunteer Corps. So somebody mentioned a chord earlier. Here's a chord. Not like a strumming chord. I guess you could say it makes music.
Форс работы. Бери выше.
So for those that aren't familiar with the Russian Volunteer Corps, these guys are Russian that are fighting on Ukraine's behalf. They kind of came to prominence during the raids into like Belgorod, if I'm not mistaken. That was the Russian Volunteer Corps guys. But they're Russians fighting for Ukraine. And I shouldn't even say for Ukraine. I think they're fighting in parallel with Ukraine is the way they frame it. But there's most certainly support structure to them from Ukraine. I have another Russian assault here. This one is going to take place, and we're going to use UA control map for this. Still in Donetsk. This takes place here-ish, roundabouts. Well, exactly. I shouldn't say roundabouts. And here comes the video. There won't be any sound from this one because it's filmed from a drone. PKM? That was not a PKM. They're running so fast. So something to think about. That reminded me of it. I've been going a little bit back and forth on Twitter the past couple days on a drone video that was released. And when it comes to video footage, I think you guys have heard me talk about this before. We already have, in my opinion, such a limited perspective on what's happening on the ground. So if reality is 4 dimensions, right? So you have the 3 spatial dimensions and then time. At any given time on video, all we really have are at maximum 3, and in some cases only 2 of those dimensions available to us. So the way we drop down to 2 is when time is altered for the video. So speeding up the video, slowing down the video. These are Ukrainians during this Russian assault. So taking from video and attempting to connect pieces that are not a part of a video, that can be really challenging. Most of you should be familiar with the drone footage that I'm speaking about specifically. Yeah, war crime, no war crime video. Sure. Yes, that one. I think the law of armed conflict is pretty clear in that circumstance. Just because it makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean it's a war crime. Actually, I don't have that one for us to review tonight. I think I beat that one to death on Twitter, though. I actually have multiple perspectives on it as well. I think there are possibilities that aren't being considered fully on what we're looking at there. Let's bring it up. All right, we're headed to Pokrovsk, or at least the general Pokrovsk area. Don't have a great geolocation for this one. This is a brown pants video. This is a Ukrainian truck kind of cruising along, low visibility, morning, evening, probably evening, I'd guess. Well, you'll see.
О, блядь! О, сука! О! Живой, сука, откуда оружейка, нахуй? О, пизда, сука! Я люблю это место!
Would you say this Ukrainian truck is bebopping along? Yeah.
О, сука! О! Жень, да! Локался, блядь, ты, сука! С той стороны заходят! С той стороны зашла! А, тю, блядь!
All right, let's bring it back up. I've got a Ukrainian unmanned ground vehicle here evacuating wounded from their position in Donetsk. I don't know why I didn't record the geolocation for these, though. Sorry, guys. Anyway, here is the footage of that. Still along the Pokrovsk axis, although I didn't grab the geolocation, and I apologize. If it was available. It just seems odd that I have 3 in a row here that don't have one. Evacuation under fire using a UGV. And what's interesting to me is those don't appear to be FPV drones, or at least these last couple don't. Those look like AGS. Like, I don't know, 30, 40 millimeter, something like that. Speaking of wild man shit, you guys remember that part in Saving Private Ryan where he's screaming, "Bring up the Bangalores"? I don't know what this tubular-shaped explosive is, but these Ukrainians are about to drop this building somewhere along the Pokrovsk axis using, again, a cylinder-shaped object. I don't know what it is. Here it is. I guess it might not be. It might be like a rectangle. I don't know. Initial review. It looked like a cylinder. We were just talking about. I forgot that I had this one in here. I had this one listed for last week's show, actually, and I came across it again in research for tonight's show, and I just continue to kind of be amazed. I remember watching over ISR as Ranger was working on an objective area, and there was a barricaded shooter situation in like this mud hut pillbox. And one of the first times I ever saw a satchel charge used was they just could not seem to dislodge this dude. I mean, they hit that thing. I've told another story about a mud hut, second story that kept getting hit by Carl G. Well, this was the same situation. I don't know what the hell they're making their mud huts out of, but they hit this thing over and over again with Carl G. Dude was still shooting out of it. So eventually, Ranger just took a satchel charge, ran around, flanked it basically, got on top of it, laid the satchel charge down, came back the other way, and it just demolished that thing. Anyway, let's go to our next bit of footage. This is in Zaporizhia. I don't remember what I made the... never mind. Anyway, this is going to take place here. This is a big, long fuel train all the way out here in Zaporizhia. Show you on the front line of troops map, the UA control map. Pretty deep. But the Ukrainian GUR exploded it with a bunch of drones. This kind of stuff is absolutely what Ukraine needs to be doing. There is a lot of fuel on this train. Look at all these fuel cars. That is a lot of fuel. Heavy impact to logistics capability, especially not only are you ruining all this fuel, but then you ruin the line as well. The logistics train, quite literally, itself. Because they got to clean everything up off that line. You know, in the process of them cleaning that up, you can continue to hit targets in this location. All right. Okay. The next piece of footage is extremely not safe for work. I'm just saying. This is going to be Zaurgertsiev. I don't know if I said that right. It takes place all the way down in Stavropol, Russia. Well, Crimea. Well, it takes place here. Come on. Yeah, Russia. Excuse me. Right there, specifically. This one's weird. So, this guy, Zar, he supposedly was a part of the air campaign over Mariupol and Avdiivka. Is a veteran. I think he's out, no longer really, doing anything. But I'm pretty sure he was killed by a suicide vest or a suicide bomb of some kind, because this guy standing in front of him explodes. So this guy in the green jacket here is going to be Zaurgertsiev. And this guy showed up to meet him, and this guy explodes. It's important to note that he was also the mayor. So he had left the service and become the mayor of Stavropol, right? Mayor of Stavropol? Yeah. Anyway, discretion heavily advised because here you are. Obviously both of them were killed in that detonation. When I initially watched that the first time, and again, if you'd like to go and review that bit of footage yourself, go to my Twitter, go to the post that I did for tonight's show. I list all of our videos that we're reviewing there. You can take a look at it yourself. When I initially reviewed this footage, it looked almost like the explosion came from the tree, almost a directional. But the more I looked at it, that dude in the pink shirt exploded. I don't know what he had on him. Somebody said grenade. That's a little bit big for a grenade. It literally threw Zar. It threw that dude about 5 or 6 feet. So there was some ass behind whatever that was. So my initial thought was suicide vest of some kind. I don't know. Now, there could be additional information beyond the video. Again, I try to stick as close as I can to the video. Sometimes I'll grab a little bit of context from a news story here or there, but I do my very best to derive what I can just from the footage. So that's what I took away from it. We're moving into our general section here. I've got quite a bit of it for us to review, and anyway, this is a Russian Shahed 136 hitting a Ukrainian hangar of some kind. All right. Hey, JJ, quit being a prick in the chat, man. It's the internet, dude. You're being a child. You don't have to be here if you don't want to, man. Let's move on. Shotguns were mentioned in the title for a reason. We're going to have two examples of this tonight. The very first one is going to be Ukrainians. Underneath of all their FPV drone netting, this guy's going to take out a double barrel and shoot a drone that is probably inside of pissing distance from him. I don't like drones. That's good to hear, JJ. Thanks for chilling out a bit, man.
Над нами. Где? Сколько?
Both of them. Gave him both of the barrels. Luckily, he got him with the second barrel, though, man. All right, let's bring it up. We're going to see another one a little bit later on. It's a little bit less successful. But speaking of drones, welcome back to the Funker 530 Drone Show. My name is Ronnie. I'll be your host. This is reported to take place in Crimea. These are Russians on the ground as Ukrainian FPV drones, or drones of some kind. I don't know if they're FPV drones. Start impacting all around them. They start shooting into the air, trying to stop that from happening, and that just keeps happening. Here you are.
О, летит! Летит! Летит, как твою рот! Дай команду нам! Ебать! Еще летит! Еще спереди вон! Сюда!
All right, let's come back up. Thought that one was interesting. I have a geolocation for this one, so I'm not sure why it's here. This takes place in Belgorod, up in the north. We would have covered this earlier. But let's take a look at what we're going to see here. We're going to this location specifically. All the way up in Belgorod. Right here. So this is reported to be some kind of like basically the equivalent of an FBI local office. During the strike, there's no vehicles in the parking lot. Even in this shot, there's only a few of them, but there are even less than that in the video we're going to watch. But it is a pair of AASM hammers, the munition that the French provided to Ukraine, being launched from a MiG-29. We're going to see a couple of. We're actually going to see some strikes from F-16s tonight, by the way. Specifically using GBU-39 small diameter bombs. Anyway, they reduced this building by a lot, if not all the way. Here is the footage. You see what I mean about the vehicles? Pretty empty. What the fuck? What was that noise? Again. What is that weeb shit playing all over the footage? I'm sorry. Oh, man. What? Is that the one on our website? It is. It is the one that Josh blogged that one. Here, I'll just give you full screen so you can see the site. Oh, man. Normally, he would have told us about that, but I feel it. I mean, I know he didn't alter it, so we have kind of an internal policy that we don't alter the footage. Unless there's like an absolute necessity, we have multiple pieces of footage that we splice together into one long contextual one. But I did not expect that. Now I'm going to be suspicious of every video that we watch from here on out. This is going to be a BM21 grad rapid unscheduled disassembly. Did she? Is that really what she said, Smoke Jaguar? One more time? No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'll cry laughing. I'm going to be honest with you guys. No matter who it is that's operating the BM, I'm not going to make any friends with this. No matter who it is that's operating the BM21 grad, the more of these that aren't around anymore, the happier I'm going to be. This is an absolute general that away type of vehicle, right? So it is a minute of grid square, minute of football field, minute of 4 football field is actually, but I have never been a fan of the grad. Again, you just kind of point it in a direction and say, hey, go that way. And just all of those, 122 millimeter rockets just land, and just really the antithesis of precision with this thing. Never been a fan of the grad. I also don't like the grad in the game squad. Like it kicks our ass. We have a Ukrainian assault on a tree line here. That's all it says. Trench line, excuse me. I don't know where this takes place, but it's coming up for you guys now. All right, let's bring it up. We are headed. This is a really interesting one, and I'm pretty sure this is an FPV drone. So I'm going to explain why that matters. So what you're going to see here is a drone navigating through some pretty dense forest. One of the major drawbacks with FPV drones. Yeah, I just needed to make sure I was on the right screen. I've got another screen pulled up over OBS. One of the major drawbacks to fiber optic FPV drones is, quite literally the fiber optic cable. Everything's a give and take. We're going to see a couple iterations of that drawback here in a moment. That fiber optic cable is actually quite brittle, from a certain perspective. And flying that the wrong way can absolutely sever that connection back to the operator, and then it's rendered useless. If I'm not mistaken, this is the interface that we see on a lot of their fiber optic drones. I can't be certain that it is one. Regardless, we're about to see some pretty fancy drone work, very fine-tuning drone work to maneuver this thing through some pretty dense forest all the way to a target. Discretion advised for this one. But these drone operators are starting to get pretty good. All right, coming back up. Fiber optics is made of glass, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So there is like a protective casing on the outside of it, but it's not. The tensile strength of it is really not good. You're not supposed to. Back when I was still doing cybersecurity work, you're not supposed to run it around 90-degree bends because you can break that pretty easily. And there was an article that was just done on the War Zone, if I'm not mistaken. I think they did an exclusive interview with a guy. A couple of important stats that I'll give you here from that article. If you haven't read it, Warzone, shout out to you guys. It was a great article. It was super insightful. Russia is outpacing very heavily Ukraine in not only their use, but the efficacy of their fiber optic drones. They were also the first to employ it. Russian FPV drones have reached all the way out to 30 kilometers. Now, one of the reasons that is amazing is that fiber optic line has to go that far. But also in scale. So the total scale of the amount of fiber optic drones. Now, Ukraine does employ a massive amount of drones, but at least according to this source that the Warzone interviewed, the amount of fiber optics is really only about 5% of their total right now. From an efficacy rate, they're about, he said 50% chance, 50-50. You have a 50% chance when launching a fiber optic drone to be successful on prosecuting a target with that. I thought that those were super interesting statistics to help us understand kind of that shift towards the adaptation of using fiber optics since electronic warfare started to become more prevalent. Concertina wire. If you've never worked with concertina wire, it's a pain in the ass, and nobody likes doing it. Setting up a TCP of some kind. I'm pretty sure that's a Warrior Level 1 task, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a reason that you do it, and I'm going to show you that exact reason. Discretion heavily advised. What you're going to see is a motorcycle crew get stuck in concertina wire and then get hit by FPV drones. That's what it's designed for. It's designed to slow, not necessarily stop you entirely, but slow you long enough so that you can be targeted by other systems. So that's what you're seeing here. All right, let's bring it up. Where are we headed to now? Cluster munitions. These, I want to say these are HIMARS delivered. They don't look like, this is DPICM, dual purpose improved conventional munition, fired by Ukrainians. They don't look like they're the 155 millimeter DPICM. These look like they were delivered via HIMARS, and the total density of submunitions that we're going to see here are a lot. We'll put it that way. The ones fired by artillery, there's a very, very distinct ring that we see of those submunitions. This is a circle, certainly, but it's a very full circle, and multiple of them hit. Look at that density. See that? All right, let's bring it up. I'm going to skip over that one. I'll drop that one in the chat for you. I had a note on this BTR-4 footage. If you want to watch that, it's on the website. It appears to be training footage, but did show a BTR-4 engaging. We can watch it if you guys want. I could jump back into it after this one. We're just going to kind of move past it. Discretion very heavily advised on this one. This is going to be a small Ukrainian outpost, kind of like what looks like a TCP maybe, traffic control point, checkpoint of some kind, hit by a Lancet drone. Now, I say discretion advised because the checkpoint is manned. We'll put it that way. Here is the footage. I don't know exactly where this takes place. Make note of the size of the Lancet as well. So you have a Ukrainian soldier here. And then note the size of this Lancet drone. They are not small munitions. All right. Coming back up. Got another bit of fiber optic drone here. And the reason I want to keep talking about these fiber optic drones is these drone operators are starting to get really, really good. And I don't mean with the cool flips and all that stuff, but really paying attention to moving properly around obstacles with that fiber optic cable. So this Ukrainian fiber optic drone operator is coming up on a Russian bunker that is covered with drone netting, but does find a gap in that, which is on one side of the netting. You'll see here in a moment. It makes its way home. All right. Coming back up. Now, speaking of that fiber optic cable, this might be a first that I've seen. We're going to have a Ukrainian fiber optic drone following a trench line here. I think this is in Donetsk somewhere, but I can't be certain. Then a Russian FPV, so a non-fiber optic drone, is going to come in and it's actually going to fly into that cable, just barely, just clip it. And you're going to see what happens when that fiber optic cable gets clipped. See that? All right. Where are we at here? Ah. So here is a shot of an F-16 flying over Ukraine. And take a look at its pylons. It's carrying a full complement of 8 GBU-39 small diameter bombs. And we're going to see what is reported to be footage of F-16 strikes against Russian positions using small diameter bombs. So full set of pylons there. And let's take a look at that footage. I am not saying that these two videos are related. I just thought that I would put them close together because they're the same topic. Here are those strikes. Now, there are a multitude of strikes. I couldn't find an exact location for any of them, really, so I can't really validate outside the initial report of what exactly we're looking at here or what was struck, nor can I truly validate what platform was used outside of the signatures, just generally looking like GBU-39s. All right, coming up. We only have a couple more videos here. The first one is actually a first that I've seen. This is a Russian recon sniper team of some kind setting up somewhere reportedly in Ukraine. But what I found was interesting was the equipment. So most of you guys know that I shoot a lot of precision rifle, and one of the ways that we do that is off of tripods. I don't see a whole lot of combat footage showing tripods. I actually tweeted this one out from my own account a little bit earlier on. The interesting part is at the end, there is what appears to be a kaleidoscope thermal used to show a target of some kind. It's really difficult for me to tell what exactly it is they're shooting at, but you can see rounds coming inbound and hitting in the same location. That said, you know, it's always up to you what you derive from the footage. I thought it was most interesting to see the adaptation of equipment. Here you are. I really want to play this sound. No, I'm not doing it. Well, I wanted to see quickly if that was ARCA. Give me a second. It is. Yep, they're running ARCA on that, unless that's a Picatinny to ARCA adapter. Could be Picatinny. I don't know. Dual arc pick. Yeah, that's what I was. That's why I said it could be Picatinny, is it looked like both. All right. So again, you know, with that ending there, I don't know. All right, shotgun. This is going to be a Russian team getting stalked by drones, and this time instead of a double barrel, we're going to have a semi-auto shotgun wielded by a Russian. He's going to take multiple shots at it. He's not going to end up being successful. It is going to impact the ground. The results of that impact are a little bit unclear. But then they're going to try and unass the area. Unfortunately, they unassed the area on foot. I don't know if they were already on foot or if they were mounted. There's a lot of vehicles that have been blown up here. A lot of questions on this one, but the typical answer, just get a shotgun. Doesn't matter if you can't hit what you're shooting at. Nope, they're mounted. You can hear the drones. Pull. I don't like drones. That was your chance, if I'm being honest. So based on the location of their vehicles, it looks like it might have hit the vehicle, and I think that's probably why they go on foot out of there.
Все, мы нахуй без сумок остались. Уебало. Идем пешком, блядь.
Yep. Yeah, so once I turned on the captions, that makes sense. I don't. It broke the translation there, but I don't think he meant to say bags, or the translation shouldn't have picked up bags. I think it meant vehicles or cars, buggies.
А она уебала, она сгорела все. Быка надо валить нахуй отсюда.
I hear a vehicle moving though.
Сука, кошмарит, мразь. Я же говорил, не... Надо быстрее уебывать, нахуй, он лесополк. Есть у меня пару пачек. Все сумки уебал. Да. Да, все целы, идем.
Дорожку вел, как она кошмарила. Просто издевался.
Я сразу сказал, неудачная хуйня. Садиться, надо было пережидать и ехать.
Look at just how many vehicles are on the side of the road there.
Осталось чуть-чуть.
Ебать, я эту потерял.
I'm sure this has a geolocation somewhere out there if I were able to find it. There's just too much horizon for there not to be one.
Тихо.
Looks like he's running out of shells, if I can understand that broken translation a little bit more. I need to go through all the support from you guys, because we kind of burned through the Ukraine section there. Mosen, thank you for gifting 5 memberships to the community, buddy. ICU812, Jimmy Bow, Q Ball, Helios, and Slywalker. Welcome to the Funkers, dudes. Good to have you here, and Mosen, thanks again. Doug, thank you for the 32 months. Glad to see the stream going strong. Keep it up. Hell yeah. Well, thanks for swinging back by, brother. Scooter McLovin, no message, just wanted to support you and your team. Thank you very much for it, brother. That for the $20. That's a lot of dollars, dude. And I appreciate you very much for it. Official Rivera. Remember, I always have one more video for you. You might not want to miss this one. Thank you very much for the $5. I was in Ukraine pretty much all of 2023 and left late 2023. I plan to go back very soon. It's changed so much. Can't wait to see what's in store. Well, keep your head down. Good luck to you, brother, and thank you very much again for the $5. D-Mo, thank you for the $5. We want more map noises. Happy birthday. It's not my birthday, and you'll get what map noises you get, and you'll like it. Thank you very much for the $5. Real Alaska Fishing Charters. Oh, I accidentally scrolled on that one. Thank you for the 20. That's $20, guys. Jeez. Alaska is calling, Ronnie. Let's chat about getting you up on a strike mission here in Ketchikan. I've never been. I've been to Alaska one time, and it was on my way to Afghanistan. That sounds awesome. Bears fit. You have bears? I can smell the menstruation. Bears, fishing, crabbing. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. Awesome. Demo, thank you again for the 5. Mr. Naughty, thank you for the 10. Taylor, thank you for the 270. And another 5 gifted from CJ. Thank you very much, sir, for that. Appreciate you very, very much. Sodium X, Burner's Ghost, John Jacobs, Muffin Top. I resemble that. Iroquois and Christoph. Welcome to the Funkers, guys. I always have one more video for you. After this, we're going to go play squad. I'm going to drink a bunch of bourbon, run my mouth. Just remember, when you guys are exercising your rights that are affirmed by the United States Constitution to bear arms, that you're having fun when you do it. Let's just put it that way. Thank you very much for being here, everybody. We'll probably be doing the stream on a different day next week, probably actually like a Wednesday, because I'm going to be gone next Friday again. But this time it's to be a soccer dad. So I do my best to not miss as much of that as possible. But anyway, if you guys want to keep chatting, we can head over to the follow-up stream where we'll be raising a little bit of money for charity, drinking some bourbon, maybe a little bit of beer. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so I might do that while we're at it. And we're going to play some video games because that's what I like to do. Anyway, Sodium X, thank you for gifting a membership. Remember, have fun. Have fun. Good night. Go be great and stay informed. Damn, see how look at that reaction time there. Look. Do you hear his mom yelling at him or something? I'm okay, Mom. Good night.